on?
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to BeoTalk 329.
Good morning too, I guess. Might as well list it all.
Yeah, good
Go
morning,
through
good
all the
morning.
time zones. Oh
Good
boy.
evening, happy new year, good night.
Happy New Year to you all.
Sleep well, good prince.
That's it.
Hope everybody had a good new year. Hope you have all your digits still left. That would be a good thing to go with. Uh, it was quite windy here, so a lot of fireworks stuff was cancelled.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
guess, yeah, because it ruins it and it's dangerous.
yeah, my sister in the Netherlands, she FaceTimed me, and literally all the fireworks was blowing over. So like a lot of it from like her neighbors and streets down ended up in her yard. So
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's
they
dangerous.
stayed in.
That's dangerous with the garden hose ready.
Go
Oh,
buy yourself a cover over at Skinny Play. Use the promo code for 10% off. Good peoples. If you haven't yet, come join our Discord. I think everybody on here pretty much is on there, but if you haven't yet, come join it. More Beolab 90 and 50 talk and that sort of thing, and you'll be up on all the latest stuff and or tech help
yeah,
because collectively we know everything,
that's it.
which is a thing. So yeah, join the Discord. Yeah, you had a good New Year.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a little boring, but I'm a boring guy now. I did not want to go. My girlfriend went out, like I told you earlier, off air. She went out with her coworker friends and whatever. And she rolled home at 6 in the morning, and with the fucking shoes that I left her on with, and she had like backup slippers or whatever, right? Because you know how girls plan that. I don't know how they make it. I don't know how the women make it. Honestly, I would be crying. I would be barefoot. I would be crying on the way home. But kudos to girls because they look good. But man, it's fucking pain. Then I have to
uh,
massage it all out next day, right? So, but yeah, I didn't really do much. I went over my coworker's friend's house as well, and or my coworker's house, and just had a couple of beers and watched French like the New Year's TV, which
yeah.
I could understand about
Bonne
50%
année,
of it.
bonne année.
So now we call it Bon Ami, right? Because that's the spray that you can clean the glass with. So, and we have it in the shop. So because I'm fucking, everybody they're all pissed off in Bon Ami. I'm like Bon Ami too, man. Fuck, let's go clean some glass, I guess. But yeah, it was funny. Not much fireworks, also. I guess mostly because they're illegal in Canada. You can only buy them in like the native reserves.
Oh, you come buy
Yeah,
them all year round here. There's
yeah.
This
No,
was a
that doesn't
surprise to
exist.
me that like the way you think of America has gun stores, right? They
Hmm.
have fireworks stores here.
Well, maybe you want your fireworks for your 16th birthday or whatever, right? So that's not in January
Yeah,
1st, right? So yeah, there's business for everything.
yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
interesting, but it was good.
other than that, not much. I had a like obviously there's a dip in work now finally after the December push. So I had spent good 6 hours with the 90's. And I retuned them all and factory reset them. I don't understand how the microphone picked up what it picked up, how much bass it picked up the first time around. I don't get it. But I also made a lot more filters now.
Yeah, did it
So
tone down the bass a bit?
quite a bit. I made the filter for the basically like what the edge of the carpet is, so the front, middle, and back.
Yeah.
Back is where I sit on the bench when I'm gonna eventually build a bulldozer from Lego. And then I tuned the kitchen center, right, and left behind me, right. And I only put these filters to like I didn't put any, and I tune it for narrow. So narrow filter is just narrow. The 90's can do their thing, but it does definitely help a lot with the tuning, with making the filters in the room to make them, you know, so they read the room properly, right? So
Yeah.
for the kitchen now, I use a combination of back and kitchen filters, so it sounds very good. And yeah, I'm quite happy with it. Also, I watched Andrew's review of the 90s that came out, I guess, essentially just before our podcast. And I couldn't have said it much better myself. And it's what it is. If you live with them for a long time, they're very sculptural, but they disappear. Acoustically, they just disappear when you watch in movies and whatever.
Yeah.
Back in the Avant days when, the Avant center channel wasn't it for it.
Yeah.
Like I would always like catch myself a few times, even when Nick would come over, just come up to the center channel of the Avant, like it's not on, man. It's just how good they image. So yeah, it was a very well done review. I highly recommend watching it. You will want to buy them after that. And if you are on the fence and buying 50s and 90s, I consider this a 2 weeks notice, because they are going to go up by a ridiculous amount again.
It's funny that he made this shot, because you've made this shot as well. They were just white, right? Like,
yeah,
somehow everybody makes this shot panning past the logo.
because it is, that's the only logo you got on those speakers, basically. It's not like Harmony that's tattooed up all over the place for a moment.
If you haven't yet, go watch the video. It's a very good video.
Yeah, it is a very good video. It'll make you want to buy the damn things.
I think B&O was banking on that slightly, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice to hear that we're not so biased that we're off our rockers on just because it's B&O that we say it's the shit.
No. The only thing that I wasn't really impressed is that they didn't have the skates. They just kind of manhandled them in. No, didn't attach the bars with the grills. Like I kind of, I would have dealt with those speakers on a different level a little bit, or make it a little easier on myself moving them, because moving them with bare hands, it's a fucking shit show, man. And when you have proper equipment, you can do it with two people, as you saw it on my Instagram post. So it's not a big deal, but you just need to like, I for the amount of money that I've spent on those, what's another $200 in fucking straps,
I don't know. Maybe it's that you do it so rarely that you, or maybe again it's B&O just not telling customers or dealers that, right?
I think that B&O should have this as a part number. Like literally, they should have a lift kit, not just the skates, but they should have a lift kit where you order it. Well, there is a lift kit, but it's more or less screws and bolts and attachment points.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they want to take the responsibility for providing a certain type of a harness, which I don't understand. Why wouldn't you? Like, all the harnesses are more or less the same to me. Like if you buy one of those, like the same stuff that I have, that, you zap strap and you sacrifice a couple of ratchet straps, right? Because they have hooks on the loose ends, and you just make that work. And it's for me, like, even with the guys the other day that we moved those 90s the other day, it was a few weeks ago, right? That I had to pack those up, and I brought my lift kit, and I did it with Max, man, and he was, holy fuck, like this, where was this like all this time? I'm like, dude, I just had it in the storage locker. I had no reason to go and dig for it, because he was with
this
the 90s.
Is mine. This is not from the shop.
This is fucking mine, bro. And so I do bring it to the jobs now, because it's, man, like I'm never doing that again, the manhandling the 90s, because I blew my back out for like a few weeks after that, trying to get the crates into the store improperly, right, on a dolly up the stairs. God, it was not fun. So I definitely if you're buying speakers like that, if you're buying speakers, a system like, or speakers like that, I think, or as a dealer, there will be a point of time where they will pay for itself. Like, you can charge a fee for moving them as well, not just the install, because there's a lot of shit that goes along with this. Like, these speakers are not fun. No. They're fun when they're like this right now, with a little Philips Hue behind it, so you can change the colors and shit. But to get them to this is an absolute pain, It's worth every drop of sweat, I tell you that, and blood sometimes if you don't wash your hands. But they are absolutely the pinnacle. Like, we listen to things in the shop, and Bowers and Wilkins and Burmisters and whatever, try to pair with like, Canton reference and whatnot. Like, yeah, they sound great. They do sound great, but they are not like the 90s. Plus, you don't have to look at all the stacks of nonsense beside it.
Yeah, I mean, he compared it to these in the video, which I heard of the Sonus Faber ones, but
Mm-hmm.
the Wham Master Chronosonic, like God, the
What is
Sonus
that even?
the
That looks
Sonus
like
Fabers are okay, but like the other one, I wouldn't want to look at all day. Like
that
God,
looks
no.
like something that would be in a Demolition Man movie. Like
Yes.
in a villain's fucking little lair, right?
And every so often you get Arnold running around going, "Ow,
Yeah,
ow."
pulling different cables. But yeah, it's when you put it to perspective, right? Like it's what these can perform like versus what the 90s can perform like, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you still need amps, right?
You need amps, you need streamers. Like, yeah, with 90s you need streamer, but you know what? You can honestly, like, at that price, I'm sure the dealer would just throw you a core in there. Here you go, buddy.
Yeah.
Have a blast. But yeah, these things look like something that would shoot lasers on you and cut you.
How
Like,
many
it's
pounds
not.
did the 90s weigh? 137 kilos. So that's
Mhm.
what, 274 plus 10%. So 310, 315.
That's out of the crates. With the crates, add another 40 kilos on that. The
Yeah.
177 with the crate, or in the crate, boxed up. So
So let's see. 137 times 2.2 is 301.5. 177 times 2.2 is 389 and a half.
that's shit that you don't want to really know. Yeah, it's 177 kilos max. That's what it says it on my box. Total weight, max total weight, 177 for each box.
Harry says, Wham looks like a bunch of CX50 stacked up.
Oh,
Right on.
boy.
It actually kind of does.
It kind of does, but yeah, they're that's not for me. That's definitely not for me.
So,
But
yeah, part of the reason I don't have 90s is the bloody weight. It's such an imposition, right? Had I lived here for the last, I don't know, 2 decades, I wouldn't have cared and had them already. But
yeah, but
I'm,
moving overseas with them, that's a risque business.
and I also moved 2 or 3 times in the Netherlands, right? So,
Yeah.
and even though I didn't move that far, just dragging around a city like, I don't know, 5 miles is a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I mean, the apartment where this
Trust me.
podcast started, they wouldn't have fit through the wall, so they would have had to be crane lifted to the balcony.
Call this, man.
So that was
Nope.
kind of a no-go at that time.
Yeah, because then you move to another apartment
Yes.
and they would have fit.
Yeah, but I would have had to crane lift them down to the ground level, right? To put them into a car or truck or something to drive them there. And
Yeah.
that apartment was a weird apartment because it was like the elevator stopped at a level and then it went splits. So you had a middle level and one down, one up. I was up, so they would have had to go up the stairs and then straight right through a door. So the whole stair bit was carried. The door was carried because I measured it, and the lift or the wheels, right, wouldn't have fit through the door anyway.
Yeah, the only way that it could fit is with the straps like we carry them sometimes. And what I would do is just strip the speakers completely, take the crowns off so you don't risk any bump damage. Yes, it takes forever, but if you can do that in the hallway, because I wouldn't do it and bring it in, because then you risk damaging those. The crowns are huge. They don't look big, but when you actually have them off, it's a lot of real estate that this piece of aluminium takes. And you can't stack them on top of one another because you're going to damage them, because they just, like, there's enough room between the bottom and the second one that they won't touch, but the third one, the top, will touch on all 3 points or
Yeah.
6 points, I guess. So it's a no-go. Yeah, and plus you have 3.6 square meters of fabric that you got to deal with.
It's a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, dude. Like to lay out one speaker, you need like this entire room basically. Like when I was doing them, just to take the crowns off, they were in the bed, and it's half the bed, right? So,
At least you can
yeah.
sleep with your 90s again.
Oh, I pass out in front of them quite a bit, but yeah, now the listening got much better with the tune up.
Yeah, I think this is what you're talking about, right? I have this exact dolly, by the way.
So do I. One of them is good enough, but I have rubber casters on mine because these are deadly. These are rattle too much and they damage the floors.
Yeah, but where did the other half of the pallet go?
It's on the other caster. There's two dollies apparently that they're trying hard.
No, but normally this is the bottom of the pallet, right? Then you have those suspension blocks, and then you have another layer of wood.
Yeah. That got already all ripped off. Probably because they couldn't fit it in the van.
Yeah, that's why
Because
I
we
asked.
have that limitation. We have that limitation issue as well. It only fits in one of the vans, and that van we had to take goddamn, uh, the lock mechanism that receives the doors. We had to
Yeah.
take that off. It's 4 Torx, but who cares? That's just enough to and slide them fucking straight. So 177 kilos to keep it straight for 32 inches worth of distance
Yeah.
is a long ways to go.
Yeah, it's a thing.
So yeah, that's one thing. It's just yeah, they're suffering. That must have been, but it doesn't matter. Anything with to do with 90's other than going in there with a tripod and a microphone is a big day.
Yeah.
It's a big day.
They do look good in all black if you had black bottom panels. They look kind of sinister like that. Like
They
this
have now.
just
You can buy black panels, I think now. Beospoke.
because that's quite sinister. That's good.
But yeah, if I didn't know how to make the 90's in 3 sections, which bolt together, just retain them after
The thing
you
is,
listen to Deepwater Horizon.
the thing is, right? They
The
are
seals.
technically two sections: the
Yes.
mid and top, and then the bottom. But the bottom is like the chassis alone without drivers is like 70 kilos.
65, yeah. 65 kilos just in aluminium inside without any electronics and drivers put in.
Yeah, so like put the drivers in there, like you still.
It makes it pretty heavy, and then you put the amps in there, and the power supply is absolutely disgusting how massive it is.
Yeah, because it needs to run quiet. You can't have like quiet movie scene and then go.
No. Those caps, like that. I honestly think that if you fuck up and you touch on the wrong, it'll kill you. There's 900 volts in there, and I don't
It
even know what
will.
the amperage is. But when we got, and I had to service them, like obviously, you watch all the bio porn on the technical side. But when you order the actual repair suitcase where they ship you every single PCB board and ribbon cable that is inside the Beolab speaker, other than the drivers themselves or speaker drivers, they give you two different discharge probes. One is for the amplifiers and one is for the power supply. And you hold that thing down for like 45 seconds till the light comes off completely, right? There's a little LED that glows red till all the charge dissipates. But yeah, that was I held it there for like a minute and a half. I've grabbed an Avant 55 power supply, and that left holes in the gloves. So grabbing a bit lap 90's, that would be significant trouble. So
Yeah, with those caps, you can probably weld the chassis shut.
oh yeah, no, it's there's a lot of power behind. Like it's not that I haven't seen it. Like I've seen it for the first time I've ever seen it is when I did the factory tour when they came out in 2015 and in well before the birthday in November when we went to Denmark to do the factory tour and see them assembled. And I saw inside of them, I saw how much electronic goes in, and also they have that little display with all the PCB boards laid out on that piece of acrylic. So yeah, it's different. Also, I know they're just demos and stuff, but still, wear gloves, guys. Like, just wear gloves. It's way more professional, and you don't leave fingerprints.
Yeah,
You
you
just
don't have to
don't leave
wipe stuff
fingerprints.
down afterwards.
You never have to wipe shit down, especially screens. Like if you deal with the screen, there's always this big freaking palm print and a couple teddy bear fingers on the top. You just wear gloves, man. Milwaukee makes really good gloves, and I don't plug it in Milwaukee, but that's the ones that I go with, and
Don't you
they're
get like,
dexterous enough that I can pick up screws that go on the back of the chassis of the theater, like those little ones that you put in.
God, I hate those screws.
So
I think B&O should make him an offer he can't refuse because they do look terrific in this space.
they do.
Like, your studio room is ours now. You can have these for really cheap.
See, and that's another thing. Like, why would you use, carpets from a shower curtain or a shower carpets to slide the speakers on? And that's what I'm saying with the skates. Like, it's much easier to do it. And I don't know. That's just my 2 pennies. I
But
would have a
those are the
little
things that
higher.
irk you because you're the installer, right?
Well, but I also carry myself differently when it comes to installing speaker like that. Because if you're buying a Ferrari, you're not buying it. You're not getting it delivered by a guy that just, he's got grease behind his fingernails, and there's a little bit of presentation to it.
Yeah.
So even though he didn't buy them, I still think that it should be. It's an event. It's a fucking event, man. It's $150,000 set of speakers that are
Well,
coming into your
yeah,
house.
I guess if the point of a review is to show the customer experience, then yeah, you should do it as I guess you would for customers, right?
Yes. So
Lightning wastes my 19 as a rear sub, but my dealer tells me it's not compatible. Then your dealer is wrong. A theater with 50s up front, of course it's compatible. There's nothing not compatible about it. It won't do much, right? Because it'll all get redirected to 50s. It's not that useful. In a rear sub roll, if it's truly behind you, it may be, but it depends a bit on your room. But like, come on, your dealer is wrong. I have 450s. I can add my 19 to it. It won't do much, but it's perfectly compatible.
it'll try to
Look, I had a Harmony with 50s up front, 17s in the rear with a 19 in the middle, and that worked just fine. It is perfectly compatible.
Yeah, it's all about also understanding the complexity of redirection levels and setting up the speakers within the theater. Because if you don't understand that, you can inadvertently really screw up the way that it sounds.
Yeah,
That's
or it's just not going to do much if the
or it's just
default
not going to
editing
do
goes
much.
well. Yeah, so it's on, it'll be there, but
And
okay.
based on my well, I do a lot of calibration, of course, with the theaters. I just don't do it like you guys do it maybe once every few months if you reset your things to factory.
Yeah.
But I do it more or less, on a weekly basis, doing installs. Uh, the center channel, if it's let's say 18s, whatever you have in there, even the 90s, like I have, it references center channel on the theater as the 0 dB,
Good.
which is correct.
Yeah.
And then the rest it goes with it. I had to play with the redirection levels, of course, on the 90s. I'm still running them with the room compensation on, but I think I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna take off the compensation zone for the 90s or for the surround, for the narrow, just all the shit, because you know the 18s don't really make that much difference. It's just sound effects, so
Maybe
that's
you
not
can
worth
make
playing with.
a sound level reference for the theater itself for just the theater and the 18s in the triangle, right? And then add the
I did a
90s to the.
preset. I did a preset that I just have a triangle preset set up in case for late night movie watching, because the 290s obviously will push a lot more air than two 6-inch drivers in the theater can do. Oh fuck, man, it was bad here. So, but yeah,
Yeah, B&O, if you're listening, make him an offer he can't refuse because, like, this looks excellent. Plus, it's sort of like you're always in the back decor at that point because they're so
yeah,
heavy to move.
yeah. No, they're staying for sure. They're staying. There's no way. Like they're staying if the house catches flood, whatever you can save, these unfortunately will not go.
Yeah.
There is just no
Or
way.
just
So
forget to pick him up for like another 6 months.
yeah, I would. Stuart McFarland says the guys that set up all our USM stuff didn't wear gloves and had to go around later getting all their fingerprints off the chrome. See, I don't even touch my own B&O without the gloves. Other than like obviously exception is Halo because I'm not fucking ridiculous. But which I appreciate the battery storage mode in it now because I can actually clean it without activating a whole bunch of nonsense. And now that I tie the gateway into it, and the lights and shit would go on, so it's a great idea and asset for utility of that remote. But if I do anything with even the TV, I don't really do anything much, and clean the screen every now and then. I use gloves. Fudge. It's I don't have to go back to it and clean it afterwards.
I'm thinking about it now. I don't generally wear gloves, but I grab everything on the edges. Like
Yeah,
it's
I still
never
have a
full
little hat
fat
moving.
on
No,
the
no, no.
metal.
It's not like the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Nice. Yeah, go handle B after eating Cheetos, man. Then you
No,
totally
Willie
stain the
doesn't
aluminum.
use gloves when he eats Cheetos. He uses
No.
chopsticks.
Chopsticks. Oh God, that's it.
It keeps your hands clean.
Keeps my hands clean. I don't really eat. I do get it every now and then. I do get the redneck Alberta in me, and I get some Cheetos. Cheetos are good.
Get some
Don't put
chopsticks
down
next
Cheetos.
time.
Yeah, take my freaking eye out with that. No, get a fork. Get a fork better than spork.
Yeah, that's another thing. The 90s will never get stolen during a break-in. The 50s won't either, really.
None of that stuff that B&O makes, like, what are they gonna do? Like, they can rip out if they know how to do the TV, but the 65-inch panel with the floor stand is pretty heavy, bro. So
Wait, these are more than about delivery. Does this also count for the digital aspect? I don't know what you mean. If you buy an expensive A5 Riva, actually you can't select a picture in the app. Only 3 standard ones. Digital grease.
not sure if I understand, but I get it.
Yeah, so in the B&O realm, right? Like an A5 is cheap. Well, cheap, or they would probably say more affordable because it's portable. They wouldn't. I don't think they would ever use the word cheap because that's like bad marketing connotations. But they would say it's affordable because in your euro signs, right? It's only 4. It's not 6 of them.
Yes.
So, yes, I do agree, however, that if you have the Atelier versions, like, why the hell is there not a picture for you to choose from?
Yeah, it's weird. You're stuck with like a generic silver one or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or black if you pick black. But yeah, there's few things. But what irks me more is the fact that I posted on the Discord just before we came on air. It was a question about why is it a title non-selectable source even if you have it as a default streaming service on the Mozart platform. It doesn't translate
Because
into
they're not
the
there
remote.
yet, software-wise.
The weird thing is that I have that option on my V132 because I tied it into I'm on the beta anyways with the Beosound 1, but I tied a radio command to the B&O radio, so I'm not using the net radio from the actual TV.
Mm-hmm.
And a CD is for the title. And it works. It joins in. The Beosound 1 stands quiet in the kitchen, but it plays into the bedroom. Everything else joins, even the moment joins.
Yeah, we're
But
just not there yet with the Mozart platform for that level of integration.
which is kind of weird that it's like you guys didn't think of that.
They did, but remember, they decided everybody uses AirPlay or Chromecast all the time. And then we got all up in arms, and then it was like, oh, damn. Because I don't know how they got their market research, right? They probably looked at their app and went, we have X amount of users. Let's say we have 100,000 users. 80,000 users use AirPlay all the time. Well, that's not that strange if you have one speaker, right? For the majority of people. But if you have a BeoVision of any kind, like, those are your actual like repeat customers, because anybody that buys a BeoVision will come back for anything else.
They'll buy speakers, and yeah, that's just they're in the dip, right? They're in the sauce. So yeah, Stuart says, speaking of A5, seriously thinking of replacing with the two emerges we have for A5s in the bedroom. Expecting to get a fuller sound. Thoughts, guys? Should one expect a small discount on the pair? That really depends on your dealer. I'm sure that if the dealer has respect, I'm sure he would hook you up with the pair. But I don't know if I were to go with two A5s or I would go with two levels.
Well, if you just want a fuller sound, that usually means a broader low range, right? You will get that with an A5. There's no question about it.
Yes.
You'll if it's one A5 versus two emerges, I personally would choose the A5. But opinions vary on that. Like if you ever thought of getting another A5 down the road, like it's by far and away better.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I found a new love for the level in my bathroom. It sounds great in there.
But if the
Better
question,
than the emerge, of course. But
since you asked for a small discount for a pair, like if you expect, like two A5s will easily be two emerges. It's not really a question.
mm-hmm.
Like at any volume, just because larger drivers, less constraints on space and movement, and it is a richer, fuller sound. Absolutely. Though
So
they
David
are.
says he's got stereo levels for his bedroom and have an A5 in the same space. So yeah, it's not that it's overkill, but I would honestly, if I were to do, it depends on where you locate them, right? Like to me, A5 almost makes more sense to have it on the bedside because it's got a charging port, so you can put your phone on it, right? It's more of a personal speaker. Where levels, like if you pair them up and you have somewhere, either put them on the wall brackets or you have shelves or whatnot that you can have them
Sure, but he's
situated
comparing
across the
emerges,
room.
right? Emerges to A5s, not levels.
Yeah, but level sounds better than
I
A5, in my
agree, but
opinion.
if you already had two levels and then said, should I go for two A5s? It's sort of like whatever tickles your fancy in your room, and etc. But if
Mm-hmm.
it's sound from two emerges versus two A5s, there's
Oh yeah,
such a size difference.
it's a huge difference. The bass drive, like the bass that is there with the emerges, is completely different level
Yeah.
with the A5s.
The sales guy dissuades you from the level, which moves you to emerges.
That's probably because the guy doesn't like the level and doesn't really understand it. That's my opinion of it. I think for small, not to medium, just for small rooms, level's perfect.
Yes. I like
And
a
it
level over an emerge personally. If I was your sales guy, I would have said go with a level.
he must not be on the commission either then. So
I mean, especially if you have a level this way, right, in the sort of Beolab mode, and you have two of them, you essentially just have two stereo speakers.
yeah. I agree with David. A5 looks less designed as a pair,
Yeah.
where the levels do have that speaker look to them, right? If you pair them together, there's some sort of uniformity. And like personally, I would dress it up just like I have mine. I think once I move out of here and I go to Florida, I'm definitely going to explore the idea of ordering the bespoke walnut cover for the level.
Of course
I'm
you
planning
will.
to keep it because it's a really nice speaker. It really is a nice speaker, and where it is, it fits perfectly now. So, you know, but Emerge is a good. I have my Emerge now in the hallway, basically. And my
Mm,
girlfriend was laughing at me, like, why would I have a speaker here? I'm like, it's really serving only one purpose: Google Voice Assistant.
yeah, and maybe macro volume control.
And I haven't played with any of that on the Gateway yet. But speaking of Gateway, I found more or less developed this weird uh, lag with volume control that runs through the uh, BLI. I had to power cycle the BLI to get it back on because it was like literally you crank the wheel, it goes to half or 50, right? And then the TV goes 45, 50. Like
Yeah.
it skips through all the numbers. And like, okay, something's weird. But only thing I don't like about having the volume button on the center of the Halo is that every time I touch the wheel, the fucking 90s turn on because the volume changes and the power link kicks on for some reason on the off the theater. So that's kind of weird. But other than that, all good.
Yeah, I'll just make a poll. Uh, uh, uh,
What's better?
yeah.
Like I said, it's a more personal. Like Level is a speaker that somewhat kind of sort of was meant to be carried around, but more or less within like the home slash office environment because it doesn't take more than an A5 sheet of space, right?
Yeah.
Or a stack of printer paper, basically. Uh, where it doesn't really stand upright when you put it in the on the blanket in the park. Well, I guess that's why that bubble mode is there, right, for the sound. So they're completely different purposes of use cases for those two speakers, in my opinion. But for in home, also like what I like about the Level for the sound that it puts out in the bathroom, it occupies relatively thin amount of space on the shelf. So
So from better to worse in your opinion, and this is not all of them, but this is roughly the one. So the A5 over the Level over the Emerge. So like best to worst, which is not really a thing.
I'm gonna go with
But it's
this.
just personal preference. It doesn't necessarily say anything about sound, but it's
I guess a combination of both.
yeah.
Also, if you have nothing better to do with yourselves right now, leave a like. There's 77 of you watching. Might as well just punch the button, bro.
Thank you.
That's it. Do the thumbs.
It doesn't
Do the
cost
thumbs up.
anything. We won't spam you. We don't have your email address. It's all free.
It's all free.
Also, feel free to ask just about anything.
Yeah, we're more than happy to help out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's I guess that's all about the 90s and such. It was a good review, going back full circle to Andrew's thing.
Yeah, I'm
They get in your
surprised.
head after a while, I'm sure.
Which is sort of what I expected, but I almost didn't expect that in to come into reviewer mode for him, right? I was surprised it caught him on an emotional level.
I'm not. I had the exact same experiences. Like when you actually sit down by yourself and listen to some old shit that you've grown up around on, and it's not just the emotion of the music; it's the fact that you can't fucking believe how good it sounds.
Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I can't believe I can't believe that happened to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it was so strong that came into the review. Because
I get it.
usually he's quite
You keep it to
analytical.
yourself, yeah. But no, that's how serious they are as far as how fun they are.
Yeah.
So
Uh, and I don't think there's like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's not it at all, right? Like
no,
I'm
but that's
just
what those speakers do to you.
surprised at the amount of hi-fi he goes through that it still had such a mark.
Yeah.
Like it's like this is like your soul has like a Beolab 90 scratch on it right now forever.
That's the only problem with those speakers. They really get in your head, especially when you're, lucky or unlucky, I guess, if you have a, stay-at-home demo for a few weeks where you can actually play with them. And yes, it takes a long time to fiddle with them, but I've owned them before the tuning was even possible through software, where I had listened to them out of the box default for months before that was available. And just as I was gonna buy that, it was like a $2,000 microphone kit with the fucking XLR cables that you had to get the special board
Yeah.
that microphone plugs in, and oh my god, like that's not for me. Excuse me. So when the software came out and I tuned them, I was speechless when I first listened. I was absolutely speechless. And then they just get in your head. They leave you there, and like I said, be careful what you wish for, because all I wanted to do is be locked the fuck down with those speakers for a few months. And then the COVID happened, and I went to the storage locker, pulled out all my CDs, and I went through all, think of 450 discs that I had. The 9000 was spinning, and it was the greatest time I've had, because I went through all of my, old school library shit that I listened to in high school, or even earlier, and everything sounded just different. It sounded real. It was crazy. I didn't know that things had these sounds in them, even though you spend copious amount of time listening to them, throughout the years on different headphones, different speaker systems, right? Because you go to your friends' places and you play it on there. Yeah, these just get in your head. That's
Yeah,
all
I
this.
remember the first time I heard them, I was kind of annoyed that I heard them. This is like,
They piss you
damn
off.
it. Like, now I need this. I must. And then, like, sanity sets in 2 weeks later, and you start counting your pennies and dollars and stuff, and it's like,
But two pairs of 50s, bro, I still wouldn't argue shit. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
sure. But I don't know. Like, it's, let's say you have the current Ferrari, what is it, three, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
You still kind of want an Enzo, even though you can't get them and they're not made anymore. Again, and that's arguably a worse Ferrari, right? But there's a halo about it.
But it's an Enzo, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's that sort of thing. It's not that I think I'm lacking. It's just that I really, really fucking enjoy 90's. They're unreal. They're like nothing else. And while I also maintain I prefer 50's, sound wise, there
There's
is
nothing else.
yeah, there is just something about them that is like out of this world, which is what they're meant to be. I mean, it's not like I'm complaining about my setup, right? Like, this is an unreasonable lust, essentially. Because I also know, let's say I order these, right? And the same thing happens that happened to my 50's, where the delivery company just puts them in front of my garage door and leaves and not ring the bell or anything. I'm fucked.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, realistically, it doesn't really make sense to get them, because like my missus is, here she's not small. To me, she's small, but she can't carry half of that.
No.
So there's a lot of that going on, right? And like Andrew said as well, like, they're so heavy. Like, and then am I gonna go full Willy and get the skates and everything, because I probably want to tow them in exactly and not like manhandle them on those rubber feet and just hope they don't tear.
Or put goofy carpets underneath it and then try to lift them from under, which shifts again a little. So
Yeah, so there's a bunch of that, and then like, I'm gonna have to buy these skates that I'll use twice in my life, like that sort of stuff.
you can borrow mine.
Yeah, it's a long borrow from Canada. Like, get your ass over here. I'm eating 90's.
That's it. I'll help you move them in. But they're not going to be these.
I mean, currently, my closest friend that could help me with that, right? Like, he lives like 4 hours away. So even if that were to happen, like, you're going to have to do an anti-rain dance outside and hope it doesn't rain. Because also, even if they were delivered into my garage, they don't fit through the garage door. They have to come out and go through the front door again.
Oh, fudge.
So, which is not a problem, right? But you need somebody else for that. With 50's, it's a single man DIY job to me, because it's like, and you'll be sore the next day, but
you got them in the house.
yeah.
Yeah, 50s are, well, that's when the fun dies for one person.
If you can afford 90's, then you also afford hiring enough. Sure, but at that point, I would redo my entire house. Like, part of my personal enjoyment of this hobby is doing it yourself, right?
Yeah, but also I don't think I don't know if KCBR has a set of 90s or owns something that is copiously heavy, and the amount of worry that you have about it, even though it's not really yours yet, even though you paid for it, if they fuck it up, they'll just come back and try again. But it's a very serious move to get those speakers into people's places without damage to either ourselves and the property, because they are fucking heavy, man. And it's just, especially here in Montreal, there's always a door that nothing fits through, and you have to make it work somehow. And it comes to taking the crowns off and all the grills off and fucking everything off, then that's just what it takes, and you make it work. And like the guy that we did this for, he's just like, I can't, like, as soon as we put the straps on, he's like, I can't watch. I'm moving away. I can't watch, even though it was just like clack clack on the pallet, right?
Post Nord is the answer.
So it is yeah, once you owe something that expensive and that heavy, it becomes a big deal to you as well. And especially by just the thought and idea and knowing that there's absolutely nothing you can do by yourself with them.
I mean, there's about 2, 3 people in the world, maybe 4, that I trust handling 90s with me. Two of them are you, my dealer, and my friend here, right?
Yeah.
And just hiring somebody to lift stuff, yeah. No,
you gotta have, like I said, straps with the rubber coated hook just in case they touch the crown, because for some reason they put the attachment points for the screws literally fucking inch and a half away from the crowns. Like, it's not, especially when you lift it, like they're really close. It's really close. Nah, I don't like it, but it is what it is.
Lawrence, you're an evil man. He says, Mickey, you can still make a nice setup with 90s and 2 sets of 50s.
Just blow your windows out again, all the way out. God, that's a lot.
90s, 50s, 50s. It's like, whoa.
I
need a bigger house for that. I need more air.
I would hate tuning that. I would hate tuning that, bro. That's a day. That's a days of one day of just whoop. 15 minutes per filter, and I would do a few filters for sure per each speaker, so they all know exactly what the room is. Oh, that'd be a long day.
I mean, most of the time 90s would be installed. In my case,
yeah, these are approved dealers. That's I think that was Brian Watt on the video opening them, which I also laughed at. I'm like, you guys didn't even buy the tool. Oh boy. I wouldn't use the screwdriver too. Fuck.
I first of all wouldn't buy them locally because I want to support my dealer, and that's where I would get them, and he would send them. Which is neither here nor there, but I that's where I would want my personal business to go, because that dude has been so good to me. Start your own dealership. Yeah,
that's a long stretch from that.
I asked about that, and they stopped talking to me. So I don't know why. Like, there was no bad note. It was literally, can we set up a time? They asked me that, right? I said, yes, when I can do XYZ days, and then nothing.
Typical.
Like, so I don't know. Maybe they figured out that I did this, or the email was attached to this YouTube thing, and I don't know. I really don't know what happened there, other than it went dark.
Like, we would do damage having a B&O store, honestly.
Oh, I could sell a shit ton here locally.
Well, of course.
I mean, not that far from me are like several neighborhoods where, like, the HOA fees alone are like $500 a month or something.
Fudge.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like, you buy a house, right, to not like be in apartments, yet you pay like you're in an apartment.
You pay the fee. I guess it's like a condo fee, I guess, then.
Yeah. But they're all houses, right? But they're also massive. Like, I think the smallest house there is like 3,000 square feet.
Fuck.
So it's I don't know, it's a thing. I mean,
car wash.
at this point, I'm almost like I would be dead either way, right? Like I could sell a set of 50s and maybe get away with buying a set of 90s, but personally, I would be almost more inclined because of the ultimate Beo-ness of having 650s, right?
I think 650s beat one pair 90s.
Yeah, but it would be
Definitely.
90s with 50s, right?
Oh, 250s and the 90s in the front.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Though I
Some
think I would
fucking what? Two pairs of 17s and the Lab 8s somewhere.
the three sets of yeah,
Three.
yeah. Yeah.
Start running
I
out of
think at that
space.
I think quite honestly with either option I may actually be murdered at some point. And everybody expect her. It's not some
Not
random
by
dude off
thy
the
neighbor.
street.
Yeah, it's gonna be her in a sleep too. So
Speaking of eights, this one right there.
yeah, he hasn't opened them yet. Shame.
It's
They're a great speaker.
me.
Gotta watch if you're thinking about getting eights, get them before January 20th. My suggestion.
I mean, I think the eights were already this close to the kitchen drawer opening and getting out some butcher knives. What the fuck are you doing?
Just want those, honey. That's it.
I mean, another thing that is truly something that has changed, right? Our latest cat, the girl cat, uh, she is a climber,
No.
and she has climbed on the front of the 50s.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. Now,
The Mercedes grills?
yes, but they're metal, right? So
Yes, there's not much damage.
they none that I can see. And I've went over it with like I think there's a tiny scratch on the backside in that you don't see anyway.
Yeah, when they go in.
But if those were 90s, like I love her dearly, but I don't want to kill her either.
Oh fuck, man. With the 90s, that's a lot of real estate. I'm very glad that the cat doesn't care for them. Like she
Yeah.
goes around them, she hides behind a little bit. Now that I put the lights there, she doesn't like that shit because it's too bright, right? So she doesn't go behind it anymore. She rather goes on the windowsill and just hides between the sunshade and the glass and looks at traffic. But no, thankfully, knock on wood, she does not fuck with the speakers,
Yeah,
and she wouldn't be here if she did because I couldn't deal with that. There's no way.
the two boys couldn't care less, but she for some reason has naughty eyes, and every so often you see them turn on, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh my god, here we go again. Like in the last 3 days, she turned on Deezer on top of the theater like 3 times.
I had that experience for the first time with the Beosound level in my bathroom. As I'm brushing my teeth, she jumps up to the side and then like she looks at the level and then she just goes and paws directly on a my button and volume. I'm like, fuck. I just and it started playing and she freaked out. I didn't want her to like pull it down on herself. I'm like, okay, this is not fun. So I made sure that she doesn't don't do that.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, that touch interface is very tricky, and I don't think it's relevant with the theater at all. It doesn't need
yeah,
it.
but I have a separated setup, right? Like I still, I, God, please let us have a way to disable that because I don't like. She's not going on the theater, and like she just sits on it. Especially
Yeah,
when there's like a bird on the display, she just like goes hop and like, ooh, can I eat that? And then half the time when you're like watching a film or something, it's like, no, actually everything shuts off. You're getting Deezer now.
fuck. Here's Deezer Flow or your playlist.
Yeah,
Oh,
somehow, right? Like, and I don't know how she does it. Deezer is only under the fourth My button. That's the only button she's ever pressed.
that's so weird.
I don't
Maybe
know how.
switch to Deezer to my button one.
Yeah, but then like yesterday we were watching the new Squid Game, so like 80% through it, all of a sudden we get Deezer because she decides to jump up.
Question: the rear height speakers worth it? Understand that everything is overkill somehow. No, I think the rear height speakers are a great idea, especially for Atmos content.
Surround height is the most important speaker you can have with a B&O setup, I personally feel. It's more important than a 7.1.
Yes.
You're better off with a 5.1.2.
I agree.
Like, even if you do music these days, especially if you're on Tidal, go for the 5.0 or 1.2. If you do movies, it's especially much more advantageous because you just create another dimension of sound.
Yes. And then redirect or change the front upwards firing speakers to surround front or height surround front if you have a theater. If not, it doesn't apply. But
I mean, even with the
way to do
Harmony
it.
that didn't do Atmos, the change was enormous.
Well, it's the old school true image, right? Where you
Yeah.
have the actual height, surround height is a role that is assignable, just like, well, it is on the theater as well, but there was surround wide that doesn't exist now, and there's a whole bunch of different ones that were taken out, and basically, I guess, in compliance with Dolby Atmos protocol, you only have so many speakers, and you can assign, I guess, multitude of
Yeah, there
roles.
were a bunch of weird settings in
So
in the older versions that, like, you could fill speakers there, but it kind of didn't matter.
but yeah, surround heights are definitely highly recommended.
I mean, also, by the way, with the Mozart thing in your 90s and being too bassy, this is probably
no
why.
longer
With the in-room measurements.
Oh yeah, they can throw down, bro.
Yeah, but this was the factory calibrated thing, I think. But I think that is partially down to Mozart and how it makes everything more bassy. Because if you set it, if you turn the room compensation off, I feel this drops quite a bit. Also, it's even
But I don't
noticeable
think
in
he
50s.
could do the room compensation because you only had a core. So this is either in true image or direct mode on the core, which I think it's direct mode only by default.
I think the core by default is in true image.
I don't think so, man.
It was in my bedroom when I was using it there with 18s.
How long ago?
Up to like 3 months ago.
Then something's changed because I no longer see that.
Because you could use the sliders, right, for width and whatnot, and it actually changed the sound profile quite a bit.
Yeah. But I think now I don't know. Where did we did something that it was just a pair of 28s and they were in a direct.
I wonder.
And it had no sound mode was none.
Yeah.
But they were in direct mode, which is I don't know if it's a bug in the app or something. But yeah.
The app is weirdly buggy for me lately because it's like it's having trouble keeping my Deezer logged in. Like I will literally go to the music section, right? And it'll load up my page and I'll start playing something. You add a new song or a new favorite or whatever. You refresh it and it goes back to like you're not logged in. You're in the free version.
That's so bizarre, man. The only complaint that I have with the theater now is, and I don't know if I have to update the app. I think I did update the bloody LG app. I don't know where else to update it, but I cannot. I always have to log in to the gateway, to the BLI. Always asks for. I don't understand why it just does not retain, even though I reinitiated it from the gateway side. It's kind of a piss off. And I remember when I was doing the programming for the shop like a year and something ago, we had to reach out to the chemo guys and talk to them about some things. And we had him actually pipe in and he did something and to make it sit with the gateway without any nonsense. So maybe they fucked it in the last update of the LG BNO app.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, most of the app works fine. It's just I notice it very often on the Deezer side of things, and it's I don't know. It just like loses your credentials while using it. It's really strange.
I have not had anybody come across it on my end as far as even the clients go and whatnot, but I think we're starting to migrate slowly towards the
Title, yeah.
Mozart platform. I mean, the title, yeah, on the Mozart platform. So yeah, the Deezer kind of had left the shop vocabulary. They still talk about it, like there's still a, like we still use Deezer for demo because you can't really do title on stage or harmony. So and those are still, not fortunately or unfortunately, but in my opinion, unfortunately, they're still in the portfolio. But they need to be addressed hopefully soon, as far as the Mark II harmony or whatever they're gonna come up with. But we need those to be on Mozart. It just makes sense.
I think from here on in, everything will be Mozart. There's just no getting around
Of
it, man.
course, no, there's no getting around it. But I also wonder, like, let's say they make a stage port 2.0 or Mark II, whatever you want to call it, right? Mozart stage. It's not going to be called stage. We all know that. It's going to be called some sort of a sound bar, whatever.
If it's called stage, it won't be a Beosound.
But would it be BeoVision or would it be BeoSystem then?
Maybe even
Because
well, since the stage's inception, I said the name was wrong, and I said they should have called it Beocenter Stage, because the double, right? Beocenter, but also center stage, like it puts you in the center of the stage, like it's sort of a double entendre, but an audio reference.
yeah.
But they could keep it a stage, just like they kept the new core a core, right? But it's now
But
the BeoConnect
hypothetically,
instead of the BeoSound.
yeah, let's say they do that. Let's say they come out with a new core. I mean, the new core, the new stage of some sort soundbar. They're obviously going to put a Mozart platform in it. Therefore, that it means that you can now hook up maximum 4 speakers.
Yes. 5.0 system.
Would they still consider a power link? Probably not.
No.
I think it's the power link's going to be dead.
Maybe 1, maybe 2. But I have to go back, but because I was talking to an engineer a long time ago, and this is not a technical thing, but this is more a parts purchasing thing. I think the way their supply line's set up is that for PowerLink, they either come in 1 or in 4s.
Oh yeah, that's right. The pairs, we talked about that.
So like,
but then kind of bullshit if you think about it. Beosound core, BeoConnect core, they all have only one PO socket out.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, they would have to buy 4. And I think the thing is not so much the actual socket, right? But when you get one socket, there's one chip behind it that does stereo. If you get 2, you need 2 of those chips. But if you buy one of 4, you get one chip that does stereo for all 4. So I think it's a packaging thing, and it becomes also a wiring schematic thing on the PCB board. It's not impossible, but it would change a heck of a lot of the engineering around it.
Cost inefficient in a few cents or dollars, and that scales up to the point where like, well, we can't do that, or we don't want to do that. They obviously can, but they just don't want to do it.
But yeah, it may come down to margins or God knows what else.
Because I'm sure that they have some sort of a prescribed margin of how much they are budgeted to spend on manufacturing certain product, right?
Thunder says, if something like that releases, do you think it would have WiSA? I think that means. I think they would probably only go BeoLink surround now. Maybe WiSA, but
maybe. I don't think if they're going to do a Mark II stage, in my opinion, there's not going to be a WiSA protocol built into it specifically for the reason of competition with the theater.
Yes.
Because with that, they can they would kind of cannibalize the sales of the theater. Because at the end of the day, like, for a guy that has, set of 28s, you don't really need the theater now to like have that bass because you already have it. And if the thing has a power link output, you can probably buy a Lab 19 if it's still available at the time, right? Because I think that's on the way out. But it's not written anywhere that it is, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be going out. So, like, I think the DPL is more of a thing that's going to stay here.
Yeah. Well,
or
also
the Beoling surround, I guess.
part of the upsell for the theater, right, is that you can do everything to like 40 years ago. So that's part of like if you have older speakers that you want to work with this whatever new soundbar, if it even does external speakers, right? You either need an adapter or an extra cost, because otherwise why not just buy a theater, because that's what they want you to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes sense that if they do a newer stage where it's wireless, it's not WISA, or if it is because it's young enough, I guess, but that you're not sitting on like 40-year-old speakers still, that you have an incentive to buy something current with it, because that's only stuff that works with it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to do that, that's fine, but then buy a theater.
Well, I think that theater should be moved to a BeoVision
Yeah.
vocabulary or naming standard, because I think it was kind of wrong that they done that.
Yeah,
But
Ralph says a Mozart stage will allow B&O to sell into a lower price point new entrants and upsell their additional speakers. Yeah, exactly. But they're the current speakers, right? Not secondhand market stuff.
that's right, because they're locking it out that you can have a stage and you can have 4 levels, 4 emerges, 4 balances, 4 or 2 of 2, right? You can have 2 balances for the fronts and 2
Anything
emerges in the
Mozart
back.
based, that is all fine.
Yeah.
But not like you're not going to buy this thing and then get like 2 sets of 8000s and make it work somehow, because like there's no point to them. They don't make any money on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point, they need to sell something that sells more of their other stuff, right? Not more of the stuff they had already made and already sold like a decade ago.
Well, that's exactly it, and I think that's a very good idea. In not locking, I guess, the old gear out of the market loop, basically, but they're doing it, and I think it makes sense because there's only so much you can support.
There's a solution for that: buy a theater.
And yeah, if you have a pair of 8000s from whenever and you have some old other speakers or lap 5s, then you more likely are in the financial bracket where you could afford to switch your Beosystem 3 for a Beosound theater, and keep your projector screen or whatever you have, if you have that running, and be happy with the sound, and basically have a new set of speakers for each side, because they sound different with Mozart than they ever have on any other platform, be it Beosystem 3 based or the Beosystem 4 based.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's what I think they'll do, something like that. I mean, will people be annoyed with it? Sure. But regardless of what it'll be a lot more expensive than the current stage, right? Because already it doesn't make any sense when people say, I want to sub out on my current stage. And it's like, well, your stage is $2,000. Are you really going to buy a new $4,000 sub from B&O? That makes no sense, right? Are you going to buy rears? The only current rears that are available are 8s or 18s, right? Like price-wise,
Well, there's more now with the DPL or the Beoling surround, but still, yeah, you're not in that market bracket at all.
yeah,
and also
but
the stage was built to compete with something like Sonos soundbar with the subwoofer with the 2-piece system that you just have one.
yeah.
That's all it is.
So it's yeah, it's one of these things.
I still love the look of them.
Doofy says, I'm thinking of upgrading my system. What would you recommend? Presumably 8000 modern equivalent are 18s, yes. The 18s are the follow-up on the 8000s. Beolab 6000. Is Beosound Balance or 8? No, there's not really an update for 6000.
I think the 6000s have a sonic equivalent of the Emerge when it comes to the bass response. Those speakers are very, very light. Very, 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 very light. They're good effect channels, yes, but that's again for a Beosystem AV9000 from 1994 when those were cool.
Yeah.
So we're talking 31 years ago at this point, or at least 30.
Beolab 28 is a successor to the Beolab 20. the Beolab 50 is the successor to the Beolab 5. The Beolab 1 doesn't really have a successor either.
Well, it was a successor to Pentas, or more or less a
Yeah,
replacement.
but so the ones don't have a successor to it. Don't get me wrong, I love ones. If you have ones, there's no real need to upgrade. Fucking amazing. They're so powerful. Still, they lack a little bass, but get a sub in that case.
Yeah, with the theater, you don't even need them to be bassy because the theater drives quite a bit.
I mean, from memory, ones are 720, 750 watts total.
I think so. I don't remember what they are anymore. But I have 2 pairs of them in this room over here.
Well, kicks the fan down to here. I'll take a pair.
I thought about unpacking mine, but I'm like, where in the fuck am I gonna put these, bro?
Surrounds and make your 18s rears. Or do it the other way. Make your 18s surrounds and make the ones rears.
I should put emerges on top of the lab ones for surround height.
Yeah, sure. Works.
Run the cable within the grill.
Yeah, you can make that happen.
But yeah, no, the ones are great, man. If I would keep the ones till the amplifiers die, because once those are dead, likelihood of repairing them is very, very little. And then you just I don't know, you just donate the aluminium, because it's the purest aluminium that money can buy. So it's worth, I'm sure, some money, but the rest will be just gone.
Thunder says the 12.3 might be the closest predecessor to a Beolab 1.
No, 12.3s, in my opinion, really replaced the need for Beolab 5000, and the 12-1s, I would go all the way down to Beolab 3000, lacking the displays with the data link. But those, because the 5000s were specifically designed on the wall. There was no fucking other bracket for this other than this metal plate that you hang them on, and that's the end of that. Lab 12s, they kind of had that floor stand nonsense introduced post-mortem as an afterthought, with the goofy ass powder coated base plate in the back with the perforated holes so the bass can go through, but you don't see the drivers and shit. I never liked them. I never liked them on the floor stands. Those speakers look absolutely the sexiest on a wall bracket.
Although they have a lot of power, they don't have a lot of breathing room, so they're not very efficient.
No.
So 12.3 is roughly equivalent to an 18.
Yes.
Even though the 12.3s have way more power, they're like 120 watts more or something. It's just like they have that much space to move, right? Like,
yeah, they have the zero space. The Costco drivers, I think they're 200 watts each, but you have only so much that they are physically allowed to travel. So yeah, they sound fine. Obviously, the wall helps, but
European solid walls, brick walls.
Not this shit. What we have here. No, you need a sub with that, because you
need to open your wall, put like insulation.
Yeah, otherwise you're just shaking the dust off the Lumex inside your walls. It's stupid. So, but yeah, they're a fantastic speaker. But yeah, that's what they replace in my eyes directly, which would be the on-wall 5000s and 3000s. Sounds to displays. It would be cool if they did something that, like the old-timey displays on the Beosound 1 and Beosound 3, right behind the grill. I'm sure they can make it look something like, because now you can replace that with a little colorful LCD screen, and it'll still look great. I don't know for what product you would do that for, but it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
To display time, essentially, at least.
I'm wondering what Duvey's current setup is. If he has ones, maybe get another set of ones for rears.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be amazing. Add a 19 to it. And you have a baller system. If you need more bass, get another 19. And you have pretty and a lot of bass. And with the theater, you're pretty set.
Yeah, with the theater, you cannot really go wrong. If you have silver lab ones, bro, it just ties in perfectly no matter what.
Yeah.
but you just can't go wrong with the theater as a soundbar or as a BeoVision concept of it, because I think it's a silly idea to buy a theater and then go with the Samsung frame with the superior picture quality and well, inferior picture quality and inferior display quality as well. So I would go, if you go on full tits, just dip them in all the way and go with the LG panel, and that's it. You don't have to go crazy with the floor stand like I have, but whatever floats your boat.
One set of ones for 8,000 plus for 6,000. Well, if you already, I would easily either update the 6,000s to a ones even or 18s. That's very much worth it. It's very noticeable. Or see if you can get more ones. Like if you want the best surround system, right? It's better to have more equal speakers, regardless of
100%.
what they are, because you never change in tonality between
That's right.
spots.
And power response is equal. So I definitely, yeah, obviously 90s are a little different story to get two pairs of.
Plus,
But
if you get another, was it 4 sets of ones, you could just pull a tent tarp over it and you have a house, right? Because they're tall enough to make a house with. Like if you're ever in an earthquake situation, the roof comes down and it just lands on your speakers and you're safe.
That's it. I lose the freaking 14 drivers at the top, but it can be replaced.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say just now. One thing I was not surprised by, but pleasantly happy to hear, is in his review where he said like Beastie Boys, right? Like he could play it at like 100 dB and there was almost no distortion, like less than 1%.
His head didn't implode. But that's the thing with the 90s, bro. Like the one that realizes how loud your speakers are is usually the neighbors.
Yeah.
Because they just hear the shit that makes it through the walls. But when you are in front of these, they just get louder and happier. They don't care. It's absolutely it's something that when I did that a few times, it literally evokes you to laugh like a little kid, because that's all you have left. It's just in disbelief that these things just they're not sweating it, dude. Like now it's fucking loud and it's still not a single bother.
But is it me or is it not just the 90s? Is this a bit of a B&O thing?
I think it is a lot to do with the B&O thing as far as how they do it. I don't know if it's the psychoacoustics mixed into the whole DSP algorithm. Obviously, they're in some shape or form.
50s have the same, but they're technically quite similar. Ones have the same because they become so loud that it's not actually the volume that hurts you. It's the sort of a piercingness, the sort of it's a really weird experience, right? Because it's not painful, but it's sort of like it gets in your head. Fives don't have it, right? Like they can go crazy loud before becoming uncomfortable.
But they will become uncomfortable. Fives will become uncomfortable little bit before you blow the fucking tweeters.
Sure, but it's incredibly loud.
Yes, it is.
Like you're listening over 100 dB at that point, or close to anyway. But it seems like, I mean, I'm not. I like my 8s are still just there, right? Like so, I haven't really listened to them. But from what I remember, the Mozart is slightly different, but everything before that, until ABL kicked in, there wasn't, like even on 17s, right? There's not really a point of becoming super shrill or distorted or.
No, they've managed themselves very well.
I mean, the same for 3s, even though like they're at a much lower volume level. I think
it's also to do with how B&O is disliked in the audiophile realm, because it's digital processed, right? So that sound is attenuated every millisecond that it's coming through that PCB board. Everything is being considered. The temperature of each driver, how loud this shit is, what is the signal distortion or noise ratios, everything is being calculated for more or less. You have a little bit of delay, which is it's imperceivable to us, but there's enough lag that the system can tell, whoa, this is going to fuck our drivers up, we need to back this down.
Yeah.
And that's where that difference is, where if you have a dumb amp that you just feed power to it like it's a cement mixer, if it goes, it goes, and all of a sudden you have a blue smoke coming out of your woofer port, and your fucking bass drivers are cooked.
And that, like, that Chinese waft.
Yeah. the
2021 vintage.
That's it. What wine would you pair that with, for God's sakes?
A toasted red.
Chardonnay, that's what we did, because it's definitely charred. But yeah, all joking aside, I think, well, and you know what, in my opinion, reading a few things about, digital versus analog, I think the digital is starting to win. It's slowly starting to win, because just like analog TV never will look as good as the digital TV. It's everything nowadays is recorded digitally, so I don't understand the whole analog thing of it, because then you're just listening to your system. Where the 90s, yes, you can make them to listen to your own system, but by default, they don't really need, like Andrew said, they don't need much, screwdriver to it. You don't turn shit and sliders and blah blahs and knobs and whatnot. They're pretty good on their own. Yes, if you want to go down the hole of a parametric filters and stuff, good for you. You have a better ear than I, but I still do it. I still play with it. There is obviously a noticeable difference. You also need to know what tracks to play, because not everything shows on everything. And that's it. They will play exactly what it's been recorded like.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part that gets in your head, because there is just nothing that sounds like it.
If you're listening, Andrew, I can send you my set of 50s, and because I really want to know how to you they compare to 90s, and if you have a preference beyond power.
That'd be a good idea, actually.
I mean, I have two sets. I have some 8s, right? They fill in the back for a bit.
Do the 90s shut down if abused? I had pushed them severely, I would say, over the 8 years or 6 years that I've had them, because they were in the storage for 2 years. I've pushed them quite a bit, especially in the New Year's in my apartment. And the only one that shut down was me. It was too fucking loud. Like, you can do a few songs in, like, McStupid. Well, I had them in full 90 on the volume bar, right? Like, I went full tilt. You can stomach 2-3 songs, man. It's just too much. It's not that it's unclear. It's just so much power, and it's just clean as a whistle. But they do get too loud. Like, it's just for your own good, and you're not gonna sit there with speakers being at 90 volume with fucking ear muffins on you to protect your hearing, because that just doesn't make sense.
The non-human technical answer is yes, the 90s will put back and if need to shut down if abused. Though
never had I reached that
humans will give up before that point, because we're talking 120 plus ish dB. Look, do that for more than like a minute, right? And that is permanent hearing damage. Like, that doesn't get back. You can't fix it. You are literally going deaf if you do that.
Look at the Rolex or any other watches. They're guaranteed to 100 meters watertight per se, right?
Yeah.
You will never see that display crack.
No.
Or the case, because you'll be gone way before that watch ever reaches those depths. Or those pressures. So that's the same analogy I would go with the 90s. Like, they'll crack you before they crack. And I haven't had anything that, the only thing that sounded terrible on them was Sublime, because the recording was in the garage. Like, the studio was done in the garage. You could hear the garage in the recordings, which I was never able to back in the day, smoking weed and my friend's Pontiac Sunfire, right?
Yeah.
20 years ago. That is fucking, come on. But now you put those on the 90s and you really like, wow, this dude must have had like either hearing problems or something when they were mixing this, or they were just that drunk. but it sounds, yeah, that sounds awful. But again, they show exactly for what the music and or the recording or whatever you're playing through them is.
Maybe they
So
just didn't care. Maybe the reference speakers weren't that reference, right? Like there's so many things how to fuck up a recording.
oh yeah, but just like full circle to that, if you can't you can't really put them into a protection mode without really leaving the room and having a purpose and intent to it. But then also the argument is that they are able to handle that as far as the 24-hour test stress test that they do each speaker before they leave the factory. They play them in this room where it's sealed room. You can't go there without ear protection because the speakers play some crazy frequency of pink and white noise and brown noise or whatever. Like it basically hits all the frequencies all the way down to maybe 50 hertz or some shit. And they run them 24 hours cycle on max volume, and then they pull them out and they put them in the box, and then you get them.
I mean, so there's several things going on, right? As soon as you tune them for your room, their max sound is kind of tuned for your room to not like, because fully no settings whatsoever, it just goes to its maximum capability. Which obviously with room correction, that is toned down to your room, which is not
Yes,
the actual max anymore.
that's right.
I guess the only way you could do this with 90s, where you would make ABL and that sort of thing kick in, if you have just an
Outside.
enormous room or are outside, maybe, yeah. Like, and by enormous, I mean like it's 15 by 25 meters or something. Like it's palatial, right? At that point.
You know what? I've had the setup in a basically a room that big with the volume of air, how much there was, because it was an open concept. I think it was about a 4,000 square foot home,
Mhm.
and let's say about 2,000 square feet of it was opened, where the 90s were. They didn't sweat fuck all.
Yeah, I mean that was it Mr. JWW on Cars, where he did is the 90 louder than a Ferrari, right? They
Yeah,
were doing that in a fucking hangar with like 50 cars. Like they had 50 cars parked inside, and the ABL still wasn't kicking in on the 90s. Like that's how big the space was. So that's what I mean with palatial. Like, I mean, some people have houses, I guess, that size, but it's not normal. And then you would still need to be like all the way over there, right? Like where if you had to, let's say
no, you'll
your
ruin your
couch or
ears.
whatever was 3 meters from your 90s in a room like that. You're spending like 2-3 minutes walking to your couch to get the remote if you forgot it, right?
Yeah, they are. They definitely. They definitely. They can carry their own, especially in a room like this. Room is different acoustically, obviously, to what I used to live in my old apartment. But when I first got the 90s, I tuned them with the doors closed. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not how I lived. So it was completely different. They sounded different once you open the doors because they vented the bass out
Yeah.
into the other rooms. So I had to redo the room calibration again on the speakers, redo all the filters and blah 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 with doors open. And I kept the filters with the doors closed as well. So when you close the doors, you can just change it on the speaker, and then they still sound correct. They're not overly boomy and overpowered. And it's the same thing. Like you get so nitpicky with it over the years because if you spend years with them, like those. Oh, okay, I have a need for that. I tuned them to like an awkward stereo angle for when I was building Lego sets because that's how where the bench was and how I could sit. So yeah, it's just because you can't move them doesn't mean that they can't bring the sound to you to where you are, and that's also something that not many speakers are capable of doing, or it's impossible to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean, also, I mean, I think we all know here, but like maybe the slight point of critique, but it's again, he probably said it where like it takes 6 months to notice, right? Like the room correction on 90s takes so long, and it's not because it's old, it's because it does every bloody driver in the thing individually, so it knows the reference to every individual driver across the whole speaker.
Yeah,
And
that's why
like
it
you
takes
shown on
forever.
your
It's
Instagram,
yeah,
like they can counterfire to stop standing waves.
that's right.
Like it's not just correcting for the room. You actually see things do like that, and it's like, wait, this bass the same? No, it's actually doing sounds you don't hear to hear your sound better.
And in their head, they're doing whatever they can to bring the best to where your head sits and rests in that
Yeah,
space and in time. No, they're epic. I guess it's the only speaker that Jeff Martin can really just listen to and not critique because it's perfect as far as they are concerned. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's perfect, man. I've heard a lot of systems, and just like Andrew, he's heard a lot of systems over the years. But these just get under your skin and in your head, and they're beautiful to look at. Like I never gotten old. Like it's never gotten old to look at them yet. For me,
yeah.
I always just it's they're admirable when you come into the room and they're just these two monoliths are sitting there when the light breaks just enough so you can see inside the heads, like now you can't see it on the camera, but yeah, you can
Yes,
see it a little bit.
on the
You can
left
see
one.
it, I think, on the left one, right one. Yeah, you can see it a bit. But yeah, no, they're epic. They're the best purchase I had ever made and best product that ever made or was made by B, as far as the speakers are concerned.
Visually, I think the 50s with aluminium grills edge it slightly.
See, I'm a more of a 90s fan, not just because I have them, but obviously I'm in not day-to-day basis contact with the 50s,
Yeah.
but also when I run around them in the store and blah, 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 you can have them compare side by side because the 50s and 90s are, just across the showroom. Uh, I still like I don't know why, but I just, to me, the motors are too loud in the 50s when the lenses come up.
Too loud?
Like, I just, because I hear it, right? Like, it's like the 90s don't do that. The 90s just click, clack, clickety, clack, tuk, tuk, clack, and then they up.
Well, I think it's a bit of pantomime. It's a bit of an event. Like here we go, boys.
That's it. Well, these just clickety, clack, they all wake up. You can hear each part of the board relays are turning on different power supplies.
Well, you hear that in the 50s too.
Oh yeah, I know, but
I kind of miss that because 17s don't really click like that. Like that used to be the B&O thing, right? You could hear if stuff was going on or off.
I think it was more or less almost on purpose because it's a very good acoustic feedback that like right, it's
Yeah.
done, and that click is standby on the speaker. The 90s do it, which I like. It's weird that they do it twice. So when you shut them off, they go tick tick, like it's audible, right? And it takes about 3-4 minutes, and they shut down something else, and it just the slow that puts them, I guess, in a low power mode.
Yeah, I think they go to sleep first and then into hibernate.
Yeah, but they don't shut down the switch because right now, as it's still running, it's coming out of the wall into the master speaker, and he feeds internet into the TV. Then it, loops through the theater to the panel, and it also feeds the DPL to the other side. And so far, I've noticed sometimes when I turn them on, the YouTube is like at 480p for first 3-4 seconds, and then it just goes back.
Hmm.
Only on some videos. But then again, I could run the cable from the wall into the theater, which is a newer switch, of course, and I'm sure faster, and then pipe it back into the 90s. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care for the 90s to be online necessarily, other than for controlling them via the Halo, right, or the app. So, but yeah, I think that the Halo is an essential tool to have with your 90s or 50s if you have a speaker set.
It's by far the best, easiest remote for it. It's also very. There's something about that ring that is just
Yes,
fucking wonderful.
it's engineered to perfection. I don't like the new style that is a little bit loosey goosey. Maybe there was some sort of a need for it technically. I've had this one for years and it's tight, and I never had an issue with it. I know there is one more in the store that we have on the demo. It's on the wall bracket, or it's a wall remote, wall Halo. I'm gonna try to twist Kareem's arm out and get the second Halo sometime next year or this year, I guess. And maybe just put an anthracite or some bullshit on the wall. Here you go. Put the loosey goosey one. I'll take the two tights that I have because there's no more tights. And I have to say, it kind of I fucked myself over because I borrowed the remote from the shop and I also updated the software on the Halo, so it works properly now because it was weird and buggy in the shop. But I chalk up to the network more or less than the hardware itself. And I have it in the bedroom, and I just put on the gateway. Fuck, like it is indispensable for the lights.
Yes.
So that's what a stupid justification for $1,200, but that's what's gonna happen.
Well, just imagine if you buy a house with 4 more rooms, and then you're gonna have to buy four
Well,
more.
then I'm gonna have to buy only two more. God damn it, because I already have to. So, and I got three Essence remotes, which one is brand new in box, never used, and both of the ones that I've had in my old apartment ended up in the bathroom.
I kind of
One is
want
by the
another
sink, and
Essence
one is by
remote.
yeah, they're great, man. One is by the bathroom sink, and one is by the shower, so I can control the volume, whatever, from whatever side. They are perfect for bathroom remotes,
Yeah,
in my
recently
opinion.
had some question because not everybody knew what it was. Like this is
Yeah, so
the
that's the table
table,
variant.
because it doesn't have the logo on here. The logo's here.
That's right.
But
But yeah, that thing is it's catch me out,
I mean,
dude.
you can still wall mount it with, like, take that out and
Stick it on.
and
Yeah.
then you just have a puck like that.
And the top button with the theater paired Bluetooth is actually my button number one. And then you have skip tracks back and forth. I never played with the long press on the theater on it. I don't know what it does, if it does anything else, if there's a secondary function. Maybe I'll look it up through the monitor on the gateway and see if it shoots some other command that doesn't activate, maybe. But yeah, and then you just have what I wish that the Essence was capable of doing is to have a mode that you can do light commands via Bluetooth. And that's where it would become a feasible integration Bluetooth remote or little switch for your rooms, as long as you have a Mozart product inside, because you could control the lights with it. For me, that what it makes sense is to have it at the door in the hallway, where light on and light off would be light play, light stop, right? And if you
Mm.
press and hold, it goes light zero, I think. So it shuts down. I would just put all standby command into it. But that's the reason why I'm keeping the moment in the hallway, so I can do and I can also use my keychain, because that also has a light play, light stop command on it.
Yeah, maybe you can work that out with an IR sensor somewhere
Well,
attached to
that's
something.
where the moment sits
Yeah.
in the hallway, because that's the IR sensor out of. It's a disgrace, man. It's a fucking $4,000 streamer that has one function to look for, which is light on and light off, which is not even
I
intended for its use at this point. But
mean, the only other thing I can think of software wise, right? Like, you remember when they did this, like, what, 2 3 months ago now? They introduced homes.
yeah, that was
Like,
weird.
it hasn't really gotten anything any further, but one would suspect that if they expand on that, at some point they would introduce rooms,
Hmm?
and you could tie a my button to a room, and potentially with a BLI read that and have a bunch of automation pop off.
I don't think that BLI actually reads my button commands out of things right now.
Or maybe it can do off the status change of whatever the my button
Yeah, I'll
triggers.
have to play with it, because I know for a fact that you can't like do a my button nonsense with it, or trigger a my button from the BLI right now.
Because I know for sure dealers have asked about if they could just have a my button that's tied to like your Beosound 2 or whatever that also multi-rooms automatically to everything that you always standardly have on, right? Because it is kind of annoying that you can now like turn your Beosound 2 on, let's say, with like something like this, but that you then have to go back into the app and add everything that you want to multi-room every day.
I don't understand why they necessarily discontinued that remote control, because it's still a good accessory.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you know, you don't have to go full crazy and buy a Halo for your BeoConnect core. You could still pair the Bloody Essence remote to it and just use it for the
This is the most
absolutely.
stable remote they've ever made and
Oh,
still
fucking
is.
the batteries last for ages.
Yeah.
It literally, they last for ages.
Yeah, bring this back. Maybe with an extra my button. I don't care, but this is form factor is bloody excellent.
Yeah, for me, it's the winners are the wall mounted ones. I really like them. And like in the bathroom, I put it on the tile. So I actually just use double-sided Velcro from 3M.
Yeah.
It's perfect thickness that it just a little bit sticks out, but you know the removal is a breeze and there is no damage.
Yeah, but even the tabletops, right? Like you just take this little plastic
Yeah.
plate out. Like they're all wall mountable at some level.
No, they're all wall mountable. Period. You just need to take the screws out of this.
You could even get like thick double-sided tape and just stick the
Just
whole
put
thing on
this
the
on the
wall
wall.
like that.
You could do that for sure.
Should I get an Essence remote for your 50s? Yes. Quite honestly.
But how would you? What are you planning on
He has an
controlling with that?
IR volume.
Yeah, it'll work in the Beosound mode. It'll work in the. Because here's the problem that I have. I have the 9000 obviously behind me that is connected SPDIF into the 90s.
For Sandeep, especially stick it on the wall next to your couch, right? You don't need your
Yeah,
remote. It's always there, and it's
that's it.
literally just.
Volume up, volume down if you need to. But if I want to listen to my 9000, which is in option one, I have to go to Beo4 AV mode on the Beo Remote One, so I can turn on the CD. But then I have to go to a Beosound IR mode in order to control the Link-I connected to the 90s, because the volume control is not. It's modified IR command for the newer platform, which it has a little goofy prefix in the code, and that's what prevents it from being recognized as a volume command, which sucks. So if I do the 9000 thing, I listen to it with my Beo Remote One. I just call it the 9000 as its own, and then I go to the Halo with into the 90s, and I control the volume and you know the filters or whatever the listening presets from the Halo interface. And it makes sense. It's actually kind of fun because you have that nice ring that you can deal with the volume, but you still have that more or less, like if I had a BO4, if I had one, if I dug it out, I could have an original BO4 with a wall or sitting on a wall bracket by the 9000 and just use it with the as a CD player remote, right? To keep that nostalgia alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I Essence makes a lot of sense for the theater as well.
If you have an IR, it's a no brainer for your 50s or 90s.
Yeah.
To me, this wheel is actually quicker to respond on IR than your Beo Remote One is.
Yeah, well, it's got 4 freaking LEDs blasting out of each corner, so it's pretty bright when it comes to the infrared emission.
I mean, also for some reason, if you use the Bluetooth version for like with you, because you can pair it to a theater, right? No problem. For some reason, this thing doesn't drop as much as my second remote does.
I have to say, in 2 years that I've lived in that little studio, I guess some year and something, since December when I bought the theater, right? So it's been a year and a half. I never changed the batteries in them, and they had the only time that I had to repair them back to the theater is when I factory reset them. It always worked. I had it stuck on my bedside, so it didn't fucking matter what time of the day it was. Even if the theater was freshly rebooted, I could just press my button one, it would automatically start the radio. Where in the Beo Remote One, you press my button one, it gives you those three dots or updating or whatever it used to be called at the time. And then it would just take like 10-15 seconds when the handshake happened, and all of a sudden my button one would kick off. But the essence is this, man, that thing is this, it's a bulletproof remote.
I think you put the manual for the settings on the Essence in the documentation tab on Discord.
Yeah, it's in there because somebody posted a picture of it that they found on Google, but it's not. It's an incomplete one because there was a firmware changeover from a certain serial number upwards, where it supported, I think, 4 different extra modes, and one of them is the light mode, and a hybrid mode where you can have it connected, let's say, to the theater Bluetooth, and IR emitting the same audio commands to something else. So you could have basically two things to be controlled if needed, I guess. I don't know what use case. I'm trying to like rack my brain. What the fuck would I use that for? But I don't have a use case for that at all, man. I don't know what I would have Bluetooth and like I'm thinking like what Emerge and my 9000. What the like? It makes no sense. So, but yeah, that's what it is.
Coax out to the 90's. Oh, but it doesn't have Bluetooth.
No.
line out to the theater.
I guess.
And that you get the volume scale on your...
But it would control the volume too on the theater.
Right? Yeah, but you don't see the volume then going up on your 9000, but you do if the IR goes at the same time.
Yeah, I guess so. But that only goes up to 72, where, so your volume scales are different because the old stuff goes only up to 72, not 90. Fuck. So
yeah,
it used to be 100.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really strange.
We need to standardize the volume numbering.
Ed says, question, why can't I access all of my B&O sources 9000 Beomaster 5 using the BeoConnect core versus the Beosound core? With the Beosound core, all sources are available, but not with the BeoConnect core.
Because it's Mozart.
Yeah.
That's it. There is no other explanation to it. Mozart is not... Here's the thing. You can still start a source from whatever you're playing locally and then join the Mozart-based product to it, but you are not going to be able to... I can't link my BV or V132 into the theater or the Beosound 1 into my theater to borrow the sources.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore like it used to. You could set primary and set secondary speaker or product to connect to. That's no longer the case, and that died with basically the era of NLML converter and the legacy network link that was based on the more or less an ASC platform.
So I guess if you want the sound of the BeoConnect core, you can do line out from your Beosound core into your BeoConnect core.
Yeah, which is kind of silly at that point. It's a waste of money to have. And quite honestly, if you never plugged in the Beosound core into the shape amplifier, you can still utilize Beo4 IR infrastructure, because once you plug it into the shape remote, shape amplifier, it changes the protocol to the new one, and your Beo4 no longer works, but the Beo Remote 1 does.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, the software just isn't there, and I'm not sure if they want to make it there or not. It's because they won't really answer your question either, which I kind of dislike, because I don't really care if it does or doesn't, right? But why are you selling us things and then won't tell us what it'll do? Like, that's...
I think that the biggest problem with B&O is that their hardware lasts exceptionally long comparatively to other electronics, and even though the other electronics, let's say, they don't die that quick, but the relevancy gets dated quickly or quicker for some reason, and you tend to keep this for so long that the newer stuff that there's people that 10 years is a long time to have let's say an Avant that worked with your 9000 that you bought in the mid 90s, right? Like
Yeah.
that's fuck. And now you got yourself a theater, and well, sorry, sir, the rest of the house will not work with this right now. So it sucks.
I remember the sales pitch from the Mark One Eclipse because they specifically had a 9000 next to it, and they said you'll be able to integrate it. No.
My ass. So yeah, it's and also count the fact that B&O is a very, very small company, relatively speaking, when it comes to these electronic giants, where the corporations have thousands of people on staff and hundreds of engineers and fucking people that just sit there that do nothing all day but pick their nose and look for bugs in software. And B&O just doesn't have the manpower, like I think
they have
that
800 or 900 people now.
yeah, it's very, very little. Like, most of the stuff now that obviously like the machining is automated to the point, like with all these KUKA machines and all that crazy shit, that they don't really need much labor work other than, have a guy to put it on and take it off the machine once it's done whatever it's doing to it. And a lot of CNC, a lot of milling, a lot of everything that, like this huge sliding fucking door closes and you just see liquid spraying and drills are going and shit's flying around on sides, and you just come in there and sweep the millings off and pick up the thing, and that's your job. But yeah, there's not. I think that they suffer with how many people they have to do what essentially we are doing for them on daily basis, and
Testing
a
software.
field testing software and reporting from the field. And I guess you suffer with the ugliness of the software for the trade-off of having one of the most beautiful pieces of electronics that you can possibly own on the market. So you know what, for that little time that might be that shit doesn't work, I could stomach it. Yes, it sucks, and I see more of the dark of it than good of it, because we don't do service calls when shit works,
Yeah.
obviously. So just like the fire department doesn't show up when there is no fire or an alarm, so there is always I see the more or less the dark side of it. But to me, it is the dark side of it. But when I get home, the dark
Speaking
side
of it,
disappears.
I totally forgot to put a fire alarm back into this room. You just made me think, like, actually, I took it off when I painted. I never
There
put
you
it
go.
back.
So,
Sorry, I
but
thought
yeah,
a total squirrel.
but yeah, for me, it's just all that fucking nonsense and negativity, and having to suffer with the service calls, or something that just wouldn't work, or we just can't get this going, or the parts are not here. It all drops the fuck off as soon as I sit in this chair and turn on my system, bro, and it's over. I could care less about the rest of the world. It's sunny and
Yeah,
nice in my backyard now.
though I would say they could do a bit better in like outline, because as a customer, right?
Don't get me wrong, I'm not defending it. I'm
No,
just
but
with the reason of how they are approaching it and how much manpower they have, the shit that should be, in our terms, like, because we come from the culture of like Apple and Samsung, where the bugs are solved immediately because it's affecting billions of people at some
but this
point.
is not even a bug. This is just a feature that's not there. But their
Yes.
response is always like, we'd be interested in taking a look at that, or something to that effect, right? And then you never hear anything about it.
Because probably somebody in the Denmark's office figured out how to link these fucking questions to Chat GPT, and you're probably not even talking to a real human being at some point with these automated responses. So
But I wouldn't even mind if they just said, no, this will never work on this new platform. Okay,
yeah, just
at
be
least
straightforward about it.
yeah, at
Like,
least we know what you're
to
buying.
expect. Yeah,
But
and what?
they do a heck of a lot of promising, right?
Yes.
And not a lot of it comes true, or if it comes true, it takes years, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, at that point, it's sort of like, well, I am really a beta testing.
Well, I think once the that mobile sweet spot comes out, which they will get it working on A5 subsequently, right? That's when the product will hit end of life, 100%.
Probably.
Just like that's the stereotype of or just the natural chronological progression of B&O's product. As soon as they hash it out to be perfect, discontinued.
Look, that stuff was launched with what, the 8 or no, even before, right? Maybe even
What?
that Apple Sweet Spot mobile, whatever. Like that was sold as included, right?
Yes.
And it's like
Yeah,
it's
it's been.
still not here, and it's like a year and a half, 2 years late. Like this
And will
is
it even happen? And was it something that was a cool of a pipe dream type of, like, wouldn't it be cool type of thing, a campfire story, or is it actually feasible where people see, like, I couldn't imagine my girlfriend doing that. Like, if she had the stereo pair, she leaves her fucking phone somewhere in the bathroom, or like, where is it imaging now? What is it doing? How do you know? Or you have to have your phone on you all the time with the app turned on so it can measure properly. I don't understand how that would work. It's a little bit beyond me, and I think it's a complete gimmick. And yes, they promoted it, but I think they should have just been quiet about it and never come up with it at all. Maybe come up with it once you have that, the pan is baked, and and out of the oven. But
I mean, to a large extent, I don't give a damn about this functionality, right? Like, I would never use it. But if it's
no,
a feature that you sell and just never deliver on, like, what the hell is this?
take it off the box packaging, man. Like, take it off
Yeah.
the promise. It should have been gone a long time ago.
Yeah, but then what you
So I
do
don't
to the
think it'll
people
ever
that,
happen.
for some reason, wanted that, right?
Yeah, I don't think that people are even aware of it, to the point or to the extent that we are, being in these circles every day, or being a
Yeah.
nerd.
Ultra wideband, yes.
Mhm.
No. It literally says here, like, ultra wideband, yes. No. It's just no. It's not there. You cannot say yes to that. If it's yes, it has to be an asterisk, like potentially someday. And it's, again, I don't care about this feature for if you work on it, if you don't work on it, if it works or if it doesn't work. To me, it's all the same. It doesn't matter. But like,
I just don't see a logic in it, man. So, like,
you just can't say yes to it. Like, it's not a thing.
exactly. Yeah, but I just don't see logic in it. So, like, if you're sitting with Megan by the pool and you're playing the music and you fuck off with your phone, is this sound gonna follow you, try to focus where you're going, and she's screwed beside it now?
Yeah.
It just, like, I don't know. To me, it just makes no sense, that whole ultra wideband nonsense. I think it's a goofy gimmick that obviously it's not here 2.5 years later, and I think there's a reason for it, because it just doesn't make sense. And somebody forgot to call the printer company and tell them to take it off the goddamn box, because it's just not what it is.
Yeah, it's yeah. It's a
But yeah,
thing.
Billy's right. They just about to got the app working properly. So
I mean, that was also promised to be like a 3 to 4 month ordeal, right? And it took more like a year, 14 months.
oh yeah, dude,
And there's
like
still
launch.
wonky shit going on. And my profile is still fucked up. So,
That's so weird, man. That's one thing that bugs me now. That I know that the icons used to be there, but now they're not. If you go to the speaker settings in the theater, all the centers, front left or front right, and
you just
the
get the no image available.
the theater, the speaker drivers are no longer iconized, which kind of sucks. I don't
I
know
think
where and
mine
how
are,
they.
but probably if I change them or if I change anything about the role, it'll like break.
Yeah, yeah. App was definitely a fluid experience, indeed. But
If you didn't pay attention, it would go down the drain. Literally.
oh man, but they fixed it. They saved it, so we're finally on track.
Yeah.
But
If you have a few minutes and you haven't watched it yet, go watch Andrew's video. It's a good video. It's unlike most of his videos in many ways. I mean,
yes,
it's obviously an Andrew video, but I think it gets to the essence of what a lot of B&O is, quite honestly.
yes.
And
No, he's done an excellent job on it for sure.
and 90s are just the pinnacle of that. Though, yeah, I'll take you on any time. Anyway, hope you all have a very good weekend. Stay safe. Happy New Year and all that. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. Go watch his video, and
That's
we'll
right.
see you all next week.
Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.